In this video, we're going to take a look at a brown ink by Pilot in their Iroshizuku line, Ina, or grain of rice. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also down in the description is a link to the brown ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more of them, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It is showing us some spots of shading, like Pilot starts lighter and ends darker. Iroshizuku goes darker to lighter to darker. The extra fine is just about, well, it's right about the same tone as the stub. No feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. Quick going dark to light to dark, brown going dark to light, fox going dark to light to dark. So nice. Lazy, dark to light, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. Maybe in general, most of it shows as the lighter tones. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading, brown going dark to light to dark, fox, dark to light to dark, lazy, light to dark. So nice, 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and we're definitely getting it. In the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Sailor 1911 Pro Gear Slim with a fine nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. Look at how Pilot's going darker to lighter to darker. Iroshizuku's going darker to lighter to darker to lighter to darker. It's very nice. The extra fine is in general lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some spots of shading going on. Quick is dark to light to dark. Brown is dark to light to dark. Jumps is lighter to darker, 8 seconds to dry. Medium is, in general, the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading, brown going darker to lighter to darker, quick going darker to lighter to darker, 14 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation. We're definitely getting it in the writing, especially the medium. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this very turquoisey blue, and it's really pushing its way up, and we see a slight bit of separation that's occurring between the blue and the yellow at the top. Now, this yellow is kind of an orange-leaning yellow. It's not yellow, and it's not orange. It's an orange-leaning yellow. Very interesting. Now, it's just orange and blue are a good way of making a brown, and they got a good one. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked in the water. And the line of blue at the bottom is much more solid, much more there. The yellow, or the orange-leaning yellow that's pushed up is much more visible there in its orange lean, and you see when it's blended with that turquoise blue, it is really showing that nice brown. So it's a blue, but it's kind of a turquoisey blue. I'm going to call it a blue-leaning turquoise that works its way up into a orange-leaning yellow. Yeah, I don't expect much resistance here, though. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading. This ink just shades so well, so constantly. I like Iroshizuku inks, what can I say? I'm just going to say it's shading really well. The extra fine is in general lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading throughout all of this writing. It goes mid to light tones constantly. 6 seconds to dry. The medium looks in general a little bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and still having amazing shading throughout all of this writing. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show plenty of color variation. We definitely get it, and the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself, I think, very well, which is really not surprising considering the yellow that you see in the chromatography. It would wash it out, but it would put it right back, leaving that brown, but it's very intact in there. Water only moved the yellow leaning, or the orange leaning yellow out of the way, leaving that blue that we were seeing in the chromatography. Pen flush does a bit more than water does. It's starting to break down that blue, and we get the hints that some white of the paper is coming through, and the 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it. It only took water to get it out of my pen, though. The next writing sample is done on Fabriano Echo Qua. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. I think there's some great shading through all of this. It's very nice. It's very well done light brown here. The extra fine is about the same tone, maybe a tad bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, still some very nice shading. I just love this in and out of its darker tones of what it's putting down. 4 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. No feather spread, halo sheen, great shading throughout. 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation because we get it. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, and the realm of normal was 2.1 to 2.9. Iroshizuku's Ina has a viscosity of 1.84, making this a little bit wetter than normal. If you're interested in how all the viscosity stuff is done, there's a link to that video down in the description. Now the next writing sample is done on Leuchtturm 1917 paper. There's no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It has very nice shading up here, very nice. The extra fine is in general a little lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade fairly well. You look at how brown's darker to lighter. I think some of the shading's being hidden by the tone of the paper, but I do think it shades very nicely here. The medium, darkest tone on the page, no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading, so nice, 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation. We're definitely getting it. And the smear test, I don't think you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. Iroshizuku's Ina, or grain of rice, has an average dry time of 8 seconds, meaning this is a faster drying ink. The last writing sample is done on 20-pound copy paper. Now there is significant bleed into the page, especially with the medium, not as bad with the extra fine. Neither of them would let you use the back of the page, but neither of them touch the page underneath. The medium has a bunch of feathering. It does spread. It has no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is just a bit lighter than the stub. It has feathering. It's tiny feathering all over. Not the end of the world here. It does spread to about a medium fine. No halo, no sheen. Some spots of shading going on, which is not very common on this paper. Look at how over goes lighter to darker. How brown goes darker to lighter. 1 second to dry. Now it shows color variation, and we do get it. And a smear test, you can't smear it, so you don't have to worry about it. Instead of finding inks that look like Iroshizuku's Ina, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I like blue and brown together, and I went with a blue ink from Atramentis. Their Christopher Columbus Atlantic Blue. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Pilot Iroshizuku's Ina, or grain of rice? This is a very nice golden brown that brings a ton of shading. I'm a fan of brown inks and of Iroshizuku inks, so I'm definitely biased towards this. But come on, this is gorgeous ink. I'm going to be getting a bottle. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I do think it looks good out of every nib, but I think it looks better out of a very wet medium or very wet fine. I think that darker tone and the shading that you get is absolutely awesome. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Ackerman's number 29, a word I can't pronounce, gray.